So what is the next big idea? Shane Ross, maybe it should be the end of big ideas, and maybe it's time for, because we've had, as we were discussing last week on the programme, various incarnations, scrapping the HSE, setting up the HSE, co-location. The problem keeps getting worse. The trolleys are still there. The overcrowding is still there.
I sympathise to some extent with Leo Varadkar in the problem, which has defeated successive ministers before him. I mean, Dr. Riley was defeated, Mary Harney was defeated, nobody could tackle it. I thought that speech, that clip which you showed there, was a bit defeatist, though. I must say, I think the idea of saying it's the end of any big vision is not acceptable. Obviously, there's an immediate problem, and that's with the trolleys. And that's something which he's tackled, I think, inadequately.
The emergency-led orders, ministerial orders approach, and the penalties for the hospitals if they go over the 9 hours. Do you think that's a good idea?
No, I don't think it's a particularly good idea. I think the idea of finding hospitals is a bit absurd, because the patients ultimately are presumably going to be the people who suffered. And I also think that if you're going to limit these numbers, you're going to actually tell us how you're going to do it. Because what's very visual and very painful is the trolleys. But behind that, if you're going to reduce the trolleys in the way he says, it looks to me, and the Minister can correct me if I'm wrong, as if they're going to have to make beds available in the hospital. Now, if you make beds available in the hospital, you're going to have to cancel people's operations coming in. So you're going to produce an invisible queue instead of having a visible queue. So it's quite clever politically, but I'm not sure that it's actually in any way fairer. And the real problem here, I suppose, is that you do need a big picture. And I'm disappointed they don't have a big picture. I'm very struck by all these models which we get from abroad thrown at us, saying this model, that model, and the other model. And John Cran had a very good suggestion. Look at the German model, which really is quite interesting, because what they do is, I think they take 9% of a person's income out in insurance. And that's progressive tax, because the rich people pay more, and the unemployed actually pay nothing. And in that way, but you also have medical people leading the committees and the chair and the boards, rather than having people who are administrators who seem to regard patients as kind of rationing health, I think, what Leo Varadkar talked about.